Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And I've just finished one of our 3-week programs. A few times a year, we run these 3-week programs where we usually have a few hundred people, and we do it an hour a day, Monday to Friday, for 3 weeks. And they're some of my favorite programs to run because there's something about that daily dose, that little and often touch point that it brings exponential results. It's surprising how deep the groups go and how much people see. And this particular one was called Finding Your Mojo and was no different to the rest. And the fundamental idea behind it, and I've talked about Mojo in my book, The Space Within, and I've talked about it on these podcasts, is the dictionary definition of mojo is a power that may seem magical and that allows someone to be very effective and successful. And it's a kind of a natural confidence, an innate resilience. And we all know it. When our mojo's working, life just feels doable. It feels easy. You know, in the course description I wrote, when your mojo is working, you can move mountains. And when it feels lost, the mountains seem impossible to climb. And even getting out of bed, it can feel like a struggle. But on this particular program, one of the reasons I like doing the programs is I see more as I do them. And at a certain point, I was looking for a way to distinguish what mojo is and how it works and why we seem to lose it and how it is that we seem to find it again. And I came up with a very simple but actually very helpful Mojo Formula. So if you want to play along at home, here's how we did it in the group. Every day I would ask people to tune in and just get a sense from 0 to 100 of their level of mojo in the moment. So right now, on a scale from 0 to 100, where 0 is the idea of, like, the only reason you're still listening to the podcast is because it would be too much effort to switch it off. And 100 is, while I'm listening to the podcast, I'm kind of ready to take on the entire world, maybe in a very quiet way or maybe in a very enlivened way. But I feel connected up. I feel connected to the intelligence and energy of life inside me. It's like I'm plugged into the mains. Where are you now? And the point that I made every time we did this in the group is the goal isn't to be at 100. The goal is to have a sense of where you're at. Because if you have a sense of where you're at, you can sort of respond appropriately. You don't have to give yourself so much grief if you're off your game. And you don't have to hold yourself back when you're really on your game. And so here's the Mojo Formula. You minus your insecure thinking equals your level of mojo. So when you're just being you, as you are, that's 100% mojo. You're not trying to be anybody else. You're not trying to be better. You're not trying to do anything to yourself or fix yourself or work on yourself or be the best version of you. You're just you, the fullness of you. That's as good as it gets for any of us. That's 100% mojo. And the only thing that makes it seem like we can lose our mojo or we have less mojo is the amount of insecure thinking that we're paying attention to in our minds, that we're making more important than feeling our mojo, than being as we are. And we all have insecure thinking from time to time. In fact, we all have insecure thinking pretty much all the time. And insecure thinking can be anything. It can be, why it's different for you, why it's harder for you, why it's fine now, but, it might not be fine tomorrow, or it won't be fine later, or it wasn't fine yesterday. And we can wind ourselves up so quickly and easily that we don't even notice that we're the ones doing the winding. But when you start to see that the only thing that is ever between you and you is all you're thinking about how life should be different to how it is, how you should be different to how you are, or taking however it is you are right now and projecting that into the future and making it a problem, well, if I was like this all the time, I'd make all these commitments, and then if later I didn't have my mojo, I would struggle. Or, I mean, it's fine that I'm kind of don't have much get up and go right now, but I mean, if I don't have get up and go tomorrow or the next day, it's going to be 30 years from now, and I'm not going to have done anything. And those are very normal thoughts to pass through your head. But the problem isn't that they show up and pass through your head. The problem is that we grab onto them. We focus on them. We make them real, because that's how thought works. The more you think about something, the more real it starts to seem, the more important it starts to seem. If you think about thinking like a thought, like a flaccid balloon, it's like a balloon with no air in it. Well, the longer you hold it in front of your mouth, the more it starts to fill up with air. The longer you hold a thought in your mind, the bigger it starts to get. And it gets so big sometimes that it's all we see. Another analogy I like for it is a tea bag. Thoughts are like tea bags. They don't do anything. They have no life of their own. But when we steep them in boiling water, they flavor the water. And if you leave any thought, no matter how even a really nice thought, a nice tea bag in boiling water for too long, it gets kind of bitter. It starts overwhelming the flavor, and it stops feeling very good. It stops tasting good. Well, that's just how the mind works. And when you start to see that, it makes less and less sense to really dwell on your scary thinking or hang out in your scary movies. And more sense to just let them pass through. And when they pass through, what remains is you. What remains is your mojo, your natural confidence, your innate resilience. So just check back in. If you were going to give yourself a number from 0 to 100 for your mojo right now, would it be between 0 and 50? Would it be 50 to 60? 60 to 70? 70 to 80? 80 to 90? Or even higher, 90 to 100? And whatever your answer is, know that you're never more than dropping one insecure thought away from your mojo rising. And that's the simplicity of the Mojo Formula. Now, if you like exploring these kinds of things that I talk about in the podcast each week, I do encourage you to join our inner circle. And you can find it at michaelneill.org/inner circle. And all our 3-week programs are included in there. Creating the Impossible, which is the big program we do for 90 days. Every January is in there. And there's so many self-study and reflective and interactive programs with me in there. So check it out, michaelneill.org/inner circle. And until next time, have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.